All right. How are the channels doing? I haven't actually sat down here all day. Accepted for Serge. Hey Serge, I recently got a reusable stainless steel coffee filter for my drip coffee crafts to cut down on waste and expensive paper filters. However, I feel like the water drains too quickly and isn't extracting as well as paper filters do. I noticed you also use a metal filter this morning. Do you recommend using one over paper filter? And how long should extraction take? Also, what filter do you use? Not sure where to put this as a price, but here, I'll do it for $10 dues. All right. Let me give a very quick introduction to extraction. We got to talk to Julie about, the spread of infectious diseases, and I'll talk about how extraction works. A lot of people are under the impression that paper is like a solid thing and that metal is a solid thing or anything like that, but what actually happens is there are very tiny holes inside of them. A metal filter has holes large enough that you can see them. Paper, the holes are largely invisible, but obviously, there are things, because they allow water to permeate through it. If it was solid, nothing would pass through it, right? That's the difference between a filter versus a barrier. That being said, the size of the hole is different between metal and paper, which is why our poster here, I don't have a name, talked about the coffee going through too quickly. So one thing you could do is you could increase the fineness of your grind.
Bus stop.
Oh, bus stop get? Hold on
Maybe.
a second here. Let's focus on Johnny. Bring it in carefully.
Good job, Johnny.
Shall I
Good
go a bit
job.
further?
A little bit further forward. Maybe just past the light there. Don't go too over to the right. Now hit C. Open and close and pull away.
There we go.
Nice. Nice!
Good job.
Yeah.
Second bus stop. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's
sir.
fantastic. I'm glad we could do that. All right. So paper filters have tiny holes. Metal filters have larger holes. Now, if you're complaining about extraction time, if you're feeling your coffee is under extracted in that the water passed through too quickly, it didn't absorb enough of the coffee to get the flavor you want, you could do a couple of things. You could add more coffee. The downside to just putting physically more coffee inside of it is now it's getting more expensive per cup. Another thing you can do is you could make your coffee grind finer. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to increase the surface area of coffee that's touching the water, and so as the water passes through it, more is going to be extracted, and you'll get an equally strong cup of coffee. Personally, what do I prefer? Now, a paper filter, because the holes are finer, is going to pull out more of the oils and more of the body of a coffee. So if you prefer a clean coffee, use a paper filter. A metal filter is very nice for the reasons that you stated there of it cuts down on waste, it's reusable, it's pretty easy to do, and that can be nice. Honestly, I feel that every coffee has a range of flavor that it offers, from very heavy notes to very light notes. And what a different brew method does, what a different paper or filter does, is it zones in on particular sections. And so if you like a coffee that has more body, if you think the coffee does better with that, go for a metal filter. If you want more of the delicate flavors, if you want to pull out some of the oils, go with a paper filter. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, it's just up to what you enjoy. Welcome to Coffee Talk with Serge.
Serge, can you get a metal filter? Can you get a metal filter with finer, like, is it just not really easily possible?
No, absolutely you can.
Is that something else you could do?
Yeah, I don't know how often those are commercially available, but I know a lot of coffee nerds in my life who have custom ordered things like that. The AeroPress is another example of a coffee brewing device that you can use a paper or metal filter for. Or another example would be the French press. Typically doesn't have a filter, you just have a mesh, you pour it out. But if you find that that's got too much body to it, I know people who have poured it through a paper filter or even just a metal sieve when they're done to sort of clean out some of the body and stuff.
And by body, you mean like the gritty, actual physical particles of coffee?
Yeah. There's interesting terminology that people use. What does body mean? What does mouthfeel mean? You're drinking a liquid. Isn't that what that is? And the thing to think about is when you drink water, what does that feel like in your mouth? When you drink milk, when you drink cream, what does that feel like in your mouth? When you drink orange juice and all of a sudden it feels different in your mouth, that's mouthfeel. It's a nice way to say grit. Yeah, so, there's your coffee talk. I don't want to, I worry sometimes that, magic has a tendency to dominate a lot of the conversations here, and I don't want to do the same thing with coffee.